Hi, my name is Julie Lee. I'm the administrator at the Good Samaritan Society, Estes Park Village. A topic that is challenging and difficult for me to talk about has to do with priorities. As leaders, we have to prioritize everything, and sometimes the priority list starts with, what is going to get me in trouble today? Unfortunately, sometimes that's how we have to really identify what is seemingly important. We all have a million things going on, and trying to keep up with the day-to-day demands, adjusting to different styles and sizes of the workforce, creatively finding ways to be efficient and to still get it all done, it can create a sense of being overwhelmed. For me, I find that when this happens, I need to refocus, stop, pause, and make sure that my priorities are in check. Our lives are full of things that we need to accomplish: spiritual, social, vocational. They all fight for our attention. Here's the thing, not all of those things should get the same amount of attention. All needs are not created equal, and we shouldn't give them the same amount of weight in our lives. That is where the practice of healthy priorities comes in. First and foremost, God should be our top priority. He should always take the number one spot, regardless of what happens in our day-to-day lives. Since we are all connected through our mission to serve our communities, it is no secret that we are in a constant state of change. From COVID restrictions, reports due, hiring staff, trying to accept admissions that may be a little more challenging or difficult, you name it, it adds chaos and distracts our days. When these events or issues or changes come our way, we need to realize that our priorities need to remain in place. In Matthew 6:33, Jesus talks about the anxieties of the heart. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. If we hand our troubles and our worries over to God, he will see us through the toughest challenges. Another challenge that I face every day is keeping my life in general a priority. Many times, especially during COVID, work was my main focus. We were, for a short time, isolated from our friends and family, and this created a huge shift. Things we routinely did with our friends and family became non-existent. Yes, there were Zoom calls and phone calls, but going to my parents' house for dinner soon became a challenge, and for a while it was impossible. I carried the burden that I didn't want to be the vehicle that would be introducing COVID to my community, so I stayed away. Now I find that socializing and celebrating with my family seems like a lot of work. It's out of my routine, and I'm challenging myself to really focus on priorities this year. And here is my list. Number 1, God. Number 2, family. Number 3, friends. And number 4, work. As we are adjusting yet to another way of life, it is important that we keep the number 1 thing, the number 1 thing, and the number 2 thing, the number 2 thing, and so on. When we keep our priorities straight, our lives will be in harmony. We live in a world where people put their careers first every day, but that's not how we were created to live. With every decision we make, we need to make sure it is staying in its rightful place. If my distractions distract my focus, it's time for me to rethink my priorities. We all need to do a priority check every now and then. We need to consider how much time and attention we're giving to each area of our life. If you're finding that your priorities aren't lining up the way they should, don't be discouraged. Spend some time with the Lord and ask him to help align your life with his goals. When our priorities look like God's priorities, we find that our lives are balanced in the best way. The best example I have is someone with their priorities in line, and as a reminder to me every day, is a new resident in our senior apartment building. She was recently diagnosed with ALS. God's work is evident in her life, and she is a gift to our community. She has reached the point where eating is difficult, walking is hard, and I'm sure day-to-day activities are wearing. She comes to the dining room every day, every activity on campus, and she finds a way to be a part of all of our lives. There are dozens of visitors every week that stop by for a visit. Her family is frequent, and they encourage her and support her. I cannot even think of a time or a moment that I've seen her sad, discouraged, or resentful. Her heart is full of God's love, and she shares that love every day in our community and is a true role model for me, especially when I feel like my priorities are out of sync. So I encourage each of you to look for God's presence, his peace, and his example to remind you every day that he should be our priority, and when we do this, He will calm the storm and lead you down the path He intended. Thanks and blessings to you all.